You're welcome back to Positive Economics. Today, we're going to talk about economic concepts of scarcity and choice. Economics is a social science because it looks at human behavior either acting as individual or as part of firms or government and our respective use of available scarce resources. So economics is a social science because it studies human behavior in relationship between ends and scarce ones that have alternative uses, which means it manages or it teaches us how we behave in terms of resource allocation. And when we talk about how we're talking about the economic agents, which are government, individuals, and firms. People have a limited number of needs that must be satisfied if we are to survive. These are basic needs: food, wealth, water, shelter, and clothes. There's a widely held view among economists that human beings have insatiable or infinite wants. In essence, we are never satisfied with what we have and almost always want more. As soon as we own a house or car on one foreign holiday, do we then want a better car, a bigger house, a holiday home in the sun, and a ski chalet? Human wants are unlimited. People have a limited number of needs. That means we have limited numbers of needs that can be satisfied. But in reality, but the point is that these needs resources, and these resources are scarce. They are limited in supply. And our wants are also infinite because for every now and then we desire for more. However, the world's resources are finite. They are limited amounts of water, food, oil, and other resources on the planet. Yet our wants are unlimited. So we arrive at the basic economic problem: scarcity. So because our resources are limited and our wants are finite. Our wants are infinite. It means there's going to be scarcity. So there's limited resources and infinite wants, and this brings about scarcity. So economics is a study of the allocation of these scarce resources. So we have economics to be able to understand how resources should be allocated because they are scarce, and we must ensure that they are not wasted. In so doing, we have to make choices between the possible alternatives that are competing for those resources. For example, a government can choose to spend 10 million euros building a new school or extending a hospital. One choice will be optimal, and other choice will need to be forgone. Because there's scarcity, it means we have to make choices. And because of making choices, there's going to be the optimum one and there's going to be the forgone one. So the example given here is the example of a government which has a budget of 10 million that can be used to either to build a school or to extend a hospital. So there's only 10 million available to do this. So the 10 million can either be used for a school or an extension of a hospital. So building a school means a hospital becomes a forgone hospital or forgone alternative. Extending an hospital means a school becomes the opportunity cost. So we have the optimum and the forgone, the opportunity cost or the forgone need. So what are the likely consequences of these developments? So if government has to choose one, what are the consequences of making a choice? The resources are unlikely to be split effectively between the two. In this case, it will not be possible to open half a school and build half an extension. So one or the other must be chosen. The first situation is this: we cannot efficiently use the same resources to build a school and the hospital. So it simply means we cannot build half a school or half an extension. So it's either we build a school or we build a hospital. That means a choice has to be made. Two, a decision-making mechanism will have to be used to arrive at a conclusion. For example, a cost-benefit analysis, which will be discussed later. So now we have to make a choice. In the course of making a choice, we have to use what we call a decision-making mechanism, like a cost-benefit analysis. With the cost-benefit analysis, we will be able to choose the one that gives us the most benefit in the course of making that decision. And the last one, the people who want the project, that wants to produce, how to produce, and from who to produce to. So the people who want the project that is not chosen will not be happy. So which means if the hospital is chosen, then teachers, students, and businesses hoping to employ the graduates are likely to be discontented. They won't be happy because their choice was not made. Which means doctors, lawyers, and patients will be happy because the government has chosen to build a hospital. On the other hand, in contrast, if the extension is the opportunity cost, it means teachers, businesses, and students will be happy. So for every decision that we make, there's always going to be what? An opportunity cost. So that takes us to the 4 factors of production. I want to talk about factors of production. We're simply talking about the resources that helps in the production of goods and services. To produce any good, we need lots of inputs. These inputs are land, labor, and capital. Make an example of Hillary Daly here. The ingredients including said to produce any good, we need lots of inputs. Let's take an example of a ham and cheese roll sold in Hillary's Daily. Can you think of the inputs that would go into making a ham and cheese roll? The ingredients. It comes from farm animals. That can be simply seen as natural resources. The deli assistant needs to butter the bread, put the ham and cheese into the roll, wrap it up, and process the transaction. That is worker, which is labor. Before the shop opens, the ingredients need to be stored in the fridge. That is capital. Hillary, the entrepreneur who owns the deli, decided to open a local shop selling food products. That is an idea, initiative, and that is enterprise. So we need land, labor, capital, and enterprise when we're talking about the production of goods and services. Can you think of any more inputs? There are lots of inputs. So let's just go to the factors of production, which are the resources that helps in the production of goods and services. So we have land. Land, anything provided by nature that helps in the production of wealth. Example given, the farm animals in the example above. Other examples include sea, fields, air, and climate. So whatever is on land, it's land. Now, land is natural and it is immobile. So which means whatever that has naturality, it's from land. So that takes us to the next one, which is labor. For labor is another factor of production, which is human effort that helps in the production of goods and services. And when we talk about human effort, we have the physical and the mental. The physical, you use your power to get it done, your strength to do it. The mental could be teachers, doctors, lawyers, and so on. Then we have capital. Capital, anything made by humans that assists in the production of wealth. So for capital, it means resources that help in the production of other resources, like the laptop, the tables, the chairs, the machines, the equipment. They are part of capital. Then we have the last one, which is enterprise. The factor of production that takes the initiative and bears the risk involved in setting up a business to produce goods. So enterprise is the mindset, is the idea, is the risk taker that combines all other factors of production to be able to be used in the course of producing goods and services. So that takes us to production possibility frontier. Resources are scarce, so a finite number of goods and services can be produced. To use a simple example, a country might have the resources to produce either 100,000 vehicles or 60,000 machines. In reality, a country is likely to want to produce some of both. If it wants to make more choices, it would have to give up the production of some of its machines. And these other options can be shown in figure 2.1. This is figure 2.1. We have point A, point B, point C, which are the boundary of the PPF. And we have point X, which is outside the PPF. And we have point Y, which is inside the PPF. The PPF is a graph, like I said earlier, that shows the foundation of goods and services that can be produced if all resources are fully utilized. So if the economy wants to produce the highest number of vehicles, which is 100,000, it means it has to produce 0 machines. So channeling all resources into the production of vehicles means none of the machines will be produced at point A. At point C, it simply means 60,000 vehicles will be produced and 40,000 machines will be produced. So to produce more of machines, we have to produce few of vehicles. To produce few of vehicles, we have to produce more of machines. That is the combination. And if the economy is channeling or focus all its resources in the production of machines, which is at point B, it means 0 vehicles will be produced. For point Y, it simply means unemployed resources, and point X simply means unattainable because it is outside the PPF. As you move along the curve from left to right, you begin to manufacture more machines and fewer vehicles, which I already explained. So that is all about the PPF. So one thing about the PPF is that we have a PPF because there's a trade-off to do more of one. To do more of one, we have to do less of another. So this is an example of what we call opportunity cost. So there's opportunity cost because we have to forgo a certain alternative. So the critical analysis. While opportunity cost is a key concept in your studies of economics, there are some problems when using the idea. At times, not all the alternatives are known, or there may be not be enough information about other choices and their cost. For example, an economist may not know that the price of cars is going to drop in the future, or the impact that self-driving cars may have on the desire for car ownership. Yes, in the course of making decisions, there are some things that are impossible, that are beyond our control. For example, we might make decisions about producing more cars, not knowing fully well that in the future the price of cars might drop, based on the fact that there could be cars with cars that are more advanced in terms of technology. Some resources may not have alternative uses. For example, money can be spent on a range of things. In essence, it has many uses, whereas milking machines can be primarily used for only one activity. Also, there are some resources that do not have alternate uses. And as a result of that, we might not be able to make choices. While all points on the PPF shows possible production levels, it does not necessarily match what goods people want or need. For example, if all resources are used to make machines, this may not reflect the country needs for cars. So there's another criticism here. The PPF shows the combination of goods and services that can be produced, but it never talked about the resources need. It never talked about the needs or wants of people. So resources must be channeled to the needs and wants of people. So point X lies outside the PPF and is not achievable given the present level of the factor of production in the economy. This means that there simply are not enough resources to produce at point X. Point Y inside the PPF, which I already explained. However, the PPF might be able to move to the right if there's economic growth. This is seen in figure 2, which is moving outside the PPF if there's economic growth. Maybe the resources are increasing, or there's advancement in technology which makes things to become more efficient, or there's a better way of production which increases output. The quantity of resources, which could be caused by one, the quantity of resources increase, more workers are available, so more factories are built or more money is invested. The quality of resources improved, like I said earlier, advancement in technology. So the PPF can also shift inwards. This may happen when the production capacity of the country falls due to a devastating effect of a war or natural disaster. The PPF can also move inward if, like here, the PPF can also move inward if there's decline in growth, or there is natural resources, there's natural disaster, or there's war. So that ends production possibility curve and the factors of production. In the next class, we're going to talk about what an economy is. Thank you.